he also learn from you in terms of the questions that you will ask or the feedback that you will give. So without further ado, let's jump into discussing what is the basics of credit. Most of you would know this. There are 4 C's to credit that we have read in various places. A quick Google search will give you what those 4 C's of credit are. It's character, capacity, capital, and collateral. Character essentially represents intent. What we are looking at here is the intent that the customer has to repay our loan. We are worried about whether the customer is capable of repaying the loan when we come to assessing capacity. The importance of capital stems from the fact that unless you know what are the customer's fallback, how do you know the customer can repay the loan through savings in case the customer does get stuck with some kind of stress? Collateral is not applicable to all loans. In an unsecured loan, obviously collateral doesn't apply, but wherever the lending is against an underlying collateral, and the collateral is of different kinds. You could have gold as a collateral, we could have mutual funds or shares as a collateral, we could have bonds as a collateral, we could have property as a collateral, we can have vehicle as collateral, or we can have stock and book debts as collateral. There are also certain other interesting structures that are coming up in the market. We have seen an interesting structure where an insurance policy in a trade firm, in a trade cycle, is actually used in some way as a collateral to actually go for lending. So there are different kinds of collaterals that's available that we can work with. What is character? Character here is the intent to repay a loan. We are not looking at the character of a person with any lens other than to establish whether the customer has a past history which indicates stress in repaying the loan, deliberately, malified. How do you assess this? Typically, we look for the past behavior, and that's where bureau comes into picture, and we will have a separate discussion on the bureau as a part of the presentation later. But largely, this is driven by the information that we pick up from the bureau. There are other indications such as certain fraudulent tools or fraud tools that we can use in order to be able to assess whether the customer does have a risk of intentional default. When we come to capacity, we are really looking at the financial capability of the customer. Remember, we need to look at the financial capability of the customer after our loan has been sanctioned. It's not important to understand what is the net disposable income or net free income available with the customer. What's important to understand is 2 things. 1, after adding our loan, what is the net disposable income the customer is still left with, and will that pay off our loan? 2, what is the balance that's still left with the customer, and is there a risk that the customer might use the balance and then slip into debt trap? So it's important to understand capacity not just from a point of view of free cash flow, but free cash flow with respect to whether the customer can repay our loan and implications, if any, after our loan has been taken in terms of future debt. Capital is quite simple. We really look at the financial wealth of the borrower. Here you look at net worth, we look at the property the customer has, we look at assets that the customer has created. Obviously, in judgmental lending, it's significantly more important to understand what kind of wealth the customer is having as a fallback. When it comes to companies, this is extremely important because when you go for an NCLT kind of a collection process, or when you go for a legal collection process, then the other wealth that is available with the customer can also be pulled in order to repay debts. So capital obviously becomes more important as you go up the chain with respect to ticket sizes, but capital is still an important part of assessing capacity when it comes down to the smaller ticket loans, the more retail MSME kind of loans. Collateral is something that we shouldn't really spend too much time on because it's very specific to a certain kind of lending and depends on certain type of collaterals that we should take. Now, there are 2 more C's that you will commonly hear in the lending industry. The first is called contactability and the second is covenants. Let's deal with covenants or conditions first. Typically in retail lending, most covenants or conditions are built into the product program itself. For example, you need to have the property owner also come in as a borrower. You need to have the key man and his or her immediate family member come in as a co-borrower on the loan. These are generally conditions or covenants, but in retail lending, most of these conditions or covenants are built into the product program. The reason why you want to build it into the product program is retail lending works on large number of cases, and one doesn't want the credit officer to spend too much time in putting a lot of loan-specific conditions. 2 problems with it. A, the time taken to give the loan increases significantly, and B, because the number of units are far larger than your typical corporate loans, the ability to be able to track, monitor adherence to these conditions will also be either extremely expensive and often fraught with failure. Therefore, we'd like to try and build as much of it as possible into the product program itself and not let it go into individual cases. Now, there are certain loans, particularly on the working capital side, on loan against property side, where certain specific covenants or specific conditions do come in as a part of the loan structure. But again, remember, these are relatively larger ticket loans, and therefore they fall somewhere between your large corporate loans and your small retail loans. Is there a cost to doing it? Of course, there is a cost to doing it. But because the loan size is slightly larger, the tenor of the loans are slightly longer, the portfolio is in a position to absorb this incremental cost that we'll have to take for these kind of loans. The other important C that we need to keep in mind, and increasingly is becoming vital in today's age and time as we move more and more towards digital lending, as we move more and more towards digital processes, is contactability. Contactability is one element which will make or break the success of large portfolios. Now, why is contactability important? One obvious reason why contactability is important is that if the customer does go delinquent, you need to be able to reach the customer in order to be able to collect money from the customer, to collect repayment from the customer. That's perfectly fine. That's needed. But that really doesn't mean much, right? That's just one part of the story, and we all know that a good portfolio will not have more than 2–2.5% who will go delinquent. But for that 2–2.5%, having contactability is vital. Another important reason why contactability is required is in managing your business successfully. Once you build a base of customers, you need to be able to walk through the customer as they move forward in their life. As the customer's life state changes, the kind of product the customer requires will also change. And we need to be able, as financial service providers, ride on that, provide alternative products to the customer, and make sure that we take a larger share of the customer's wallet. How do you do that unless you have a strong mechanism to go back and connect with the customer? And how do you connect with the customer if you do not have a strong contactability framework in your organization? Remember that as your number of cases increases, one will start depending a lot on one-to-many kind of contact thoughts. So when it comes to collections, initially you'll have one-to-many. What do I mean by one-to-many? One particular tactic will have to reach out many customers. So you will have one messaging engine reaching out many customers, email, SMS, WhatsApp. You will have one chatbot trying to call many customers, calling mechanism, back-end call center, bot-based calling, etc. This is true for collections, this is true for cross-sell, this is true for portfolio upsell, for all of it. Now, for one-to-many contact to work, it's very, very important to ensure that the quality of your contactability in the customer base that you have is very, very good. So please make sure, whether you're a credit officer, whether you're a product officer, whether you're a sales officer in your organization, make sure that you do not compromise when it comes to establishing contactability. If you have to knock off a certain set of fields because you're having too much data being collected from the customer, contactability is not a field you should knock off. Do not err on this field. It's an important field, and it has a lot of long-term value as your portfolio grows and moves in.